Hello there and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is the first video of mine you are seeing. If you have seen any of my videos in the past, then you know my favorite eyeshadow palette of all time is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude eyeshadow palette. I just really love this palette, and one of the ways I've been using it lately is for like a multitasking just all-in-one palette. I've used it for my brows, for my face, for my eyes, so I'm just going to do a video today just showcasing that because I just feel like this is a fun way to use an eyeshadow palette in your collection, just get more use out of it. So I'm gonna zoom you in here and I'm gonna take the shade Silhouette. This is something I've been doing a lot lately. I've just been reaching for this palette. Usually if I'm not doing anything for my YouTube or my Instagram, I am honestly reaching for this palette for just like an all-in-one, because I just feel like you know for sure that the tones are all going to work together. Now, I know that for everybody, this kind of depends on the shades and stuff. Like, I know not everyone might can find their brow color in an eyeshadow palette. It just happened to work out that this one had a shade that would work for me. And I will say, since I don't use the shade Silhouette a lot on like my eyes, this is a great way that I can still use that shade up. And I just feel like it just creates a really pretty brow powder. And then there. So just quick and easy brows. And I forgot to mention, this is from e.l.f. This is their eyebrow duo brush. This is just in the blue. I think this was a holiday release, but they make this brush all the time in like their classic black color. So easy. And I do like the idea of a brow powder because it's just, I don't know, I guess maybe it does make your brows look a little more, you know, natural if that's what you're going for. So I do really love that shade for my brows. It might be just a touch too warm, but honestly, once you kind of blend over and then put a brow gel over the top, I don't notice it at all. And just right quick, I forgot to mention what's on the rest of my face. I went ahead and done my foundation, my concealer, my powder. I'm wearing the CoverGirl Simply Ageless Skin Perfector Essence. Mine is in the shade Fair. And then for concealer, I'm wearing the Simply Ageless Triple Action Concealer from CoverGirl, and this one is in the shade Ivory. And for my setting powder, I'm just wearing the e.l.f. Halo Glow Setting Powder. This one is in the shade Light. I've been really loving that combo lately because it does give me this really pretty super glowy look. Then I'm just going to take my Refi Brow Gel and just put that through my brows. I already have my eyeshadow primer on. I just used the Milani one. So to set that, I'm going back in with the palette and I'm going to use the shade Fair. I have a big dent. I don't know if you can see it in this shade. I feel like that's probably going to be the shade that I hit pan on first. So I'm just going to take this and just lightly press it all over my lid just to make sure my eyeshadow primer is just nicely set. This shade, even though it's called Fair and it looks like it would be my skin tone, I don't know if you can kind of see, it does have just maybe like a half a shade darker than my natural skin tone. So honestly, I have a lot of times just used that shade for a one and done and just called it a day, because it does add just the slight bit of color to my lids. I really wanted to sit down and film a video like this. I know that there's a lot of Sephora haul videos going on right now, mine included. I did have one up and I'm probably going to do a part 2. I'm just waiting on a second order to come in. I don't know for sure if I'll, film it or not. I guess I will, because I have some new products in there that I really want to try out. I'm so excited to try. I just love trying new makeup. I'm so excited to try new stuff. But I also wanted to do some videos like this because, maybe you have an eyeshadow palette in your collection too that you can use as a multitasker. Maybe there's one in your collection that maybe you have been trying to do like Project Pan kind of stuff with. This would be another nice way to use up a palette. I will say that for some of these steps, like I will be using this palette for like blush and my bronzer. It helps that this palette is magnetic so I can pop the shades out. So unless you have a really precise brush, it might be harder to do that on an eyeshadow palette that's not magnetic. I wish every single eyeshadow palette was magnetic. I find that that's just the most easiest to work with, instead of them just being stuck completely like in cardboard or something and not able to kind of like move them around the way you want, or something like this where you can actually pop the shades out easily. I know you can technically take the shades out, but it's just, you'd have to destroy the whole palette just to do so. I just wish more brands would start doing magnetic palettes. I think those are just a lot nicer. Now I'm wanting to use the shade Vague right here as blush, so I'm just going to be putting this all over my eye as well. And this brush, by the way, is a blending brush from e.l.f. I'm just going to kind of stamp that all over the lid and into my crease. Just want that little bit. I didn't pick up a lot. I just wanted like a little bit of a wash of color. I'm going to add like one of these little shimmer shades kind of over the top for just a little bit of sparkle. But I did want a little bit of that shade on my eye simply because I think it will tie in really nicely for when I actually use this shade as blush. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the shade Muse just on my finger. And all I'm going to do with that is just kind of scatter that all over the lid. Nothing too precise. Just wanted a little bit of sparkle. I've been wearing a lot of matte shadows lately, so I just wanted a little bit of sparkle. You could go in more intensely with that shade if you want, but I just like doing a scattered sparkle effect. I just think that's so pretty on the lid. Gosh, I love this palette so much. I have not yet tried an eyeshadow palette that I love more than this one. And for the longest time, I absolutely loved my Wild Greens palette from Urban Decay. And I still love that one, but this one definitely took its place. Because I could use this palette every single day and I would be totally fine with it. I think that's why I really love knowing that I can multitask with it. Alright, I'm also going to take that shade Vague and just run it on my lower lash line too. Because I've already done my concealer and everything, so I can go ahead and place that there just a little bit. For my waterline, I'm going in with this pencil, this Creme Gel liner from ColourPop. This one is in Peach Fuzz, but I don't believe they make this one anymore, but Honey Dude is a shade that looks similar to this one, maybe just not quite as peachy, but looks really similar. And then I'm going in with the e.l.f. Lash Extender Mascara. This one is in the brown shade. I'm going to do both of those right quick, and I'll come right back and we will do the face steps. I have used the shade Mesh, and then I've also used this shade Stone for like my bronzer, so I think I'm going to use Mesh this time. I used Stone last time, so luckily all you have to do is poke out the little hole here, like, you know, in the back, just to pop the magnet out. And then I'm going to take this brush right here, the pointed powder brush from e.l.f., and I'm just going to go in to that eyeshadow and get it, just make sure it coats the bristles, and then I'm going to start applying that like I would my bronzer. Whoop. All these little short pieces that I have up here, I don't know. I need to get some of that. I need to get some type of gel or something to hold those little short pieces in. See, I just think that makes such a really pretty, almost like on me, it looks like a neutral tone. It's not too orange, but I don't feel like it's too cool toned on me to where it looks too gray. I think it's just like a perfect neutral tone. I just feel like it adds such a really pretty, subtle bronzer. I mean, if you have this palette and you want to try this out, I mean, go for it. I think this is like a fun way to get more use out of like eyeshadow palettes if you're able to, like if they're magnetic and you can pull the pan out. Now, as big as this brush is, I would have never been able to actually go into the palette with this, so that's why I feel like this probably would really mostly work with magnetic palettes like this, so I do wish more brands would do magnetic palettes. And I just think that's so pretty and just so natural looking. I love that. I'm going to take the shade Vague, I'm going to pop that out, and I'm going to use that shade as my blush. And then for this shade, I'm going in with the Flawless Face Brush from e.l.f., which it looks like that other one, just a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to pick up some of that shade, and then we're going to carry some over here too. Might have picked up too much on the brush, because this is a really pigmented shade. Let me wipe some off and then keep pressing that in. I just think this is such a pretty shade for blush, and see, it's also in the eyeshadow, so it's a monochromatic look if you like those types of looks. And of course, this is so unnecessary. You can always just have a face palette, a face and eye palette, but even though I have those, I find that I don't reach for them so much. So if I can turn my favorite eyeshadow palette into a face and eye palette, then I think that would be the route I'd rather take. I dipped a lot into that shade, so I was able to actually do both sides here. You can just see how pretty that is. And you probably could take some of these shades and maybe do a highlight or two, but I already had enough glow to my skin already, so I'm just going to leave that be. But that's such a pretty blush shade, and it just goes so pretty with the eyeshadow too, because it's the same shade. So just a very easy, simple way to get a monochromatic look using an eyeshadow palette. I've always wanted Natasha Denona. I don't know if she still makes the palette actually. Is it the Biba? I believe it's an all matte neutral palette, but I believe that's like one of her $130 palettes. If it's still available, I'm not sure. I always wanted that palette, and I feel like if those, I think those are magnetic too, then that would probably be pretty for doing stuff like this too. I don't know if there's blush tones in the palette, but like you can do like maybe bronzer and stuff. And just for my lips, all I'm gonna put on is this Tower 28. This is the Shine On Lip Jelly. This one is in the shade Oat. I use this one all the time. I'm just gonna take some of that on a nice gloss today. And there you have this really simple, easy, just very natural, neutral makeup look just using an eyeshadow palette. I don't know, I just love doing stuff like this. I love the idea of face palettes, but I just never reached for them, so I thought this would be a really nice way to use my favorite eyeshadow palette even more than I already do. Because mostly I'm wearing it on my eyes and then of course in my brows for that one shade, but this is just a way I can use up more of the shades that I might not use as much on my eyes, just use it as blush or use it as a bronzer or something, because I think this creates such a really pretty look. But I do hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I hope you will please consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing if you haven't already, and please make sure to hit that bell notification so you are alerted to all my future uploads, and please follow me over on Instagram at Jessica Dearly, and I hope to see you in my next video.